I have a question for all of you. What happens to the punk bands when they find themselves in complete alignment with the billion-dollar multinational corporations?
I don't know.
Are you actually asking me?
I'm asking you. I'm asking everybody.
I thought you were. I
Like
thought it was rhetorical.
Rhetorical? No. Literally, what happens?
I don't know. I mean, I know the funny answers that people have given. So
Well, band names. I'll just give it to you. I think the winner of the funny band names is Rage on Behalf of the Machine, and this is from Based in PA. Comedy Gold says, "Free sheeple, well done." I agree. Listen. Take Rage Against the Machine's lyrics.
Yep.
Play them today. They're quite literally the machine. They are just rage. It is rage on behalf of the machine. Think about it.
Yep.
The riots for Black Lives Matter, the government supports it. They're painting it in the streets.
Yep.
Every major corporation is plastering the message everywhere. So when you go out and rage on behalf, you are the machine.
Yep.
You are a giant rage-filled hate machine.
Yep, that's true.
So this is I actually thought of this because I saw, for those of you who are familiar with Paramore, Hayley Williams, who is like the front woman of the band, put up a poster that was called "Say Their Names." I could be getting it wrong because I just saw this passively. And I'm not going to pretend like Paramore is the epitome of real punk rock. They were pop punk in the 2000s. But it still made me think of this because there are other punk bands that are in line with the establishment. We'll get to this. But I saw that. I looked up what had happened. So she had posted this poster of, I guess it was a bunch of names of people who, like, unarmed black people or people who have been killed by police. And she got attacked for it.
Okay.
I say attacked, but she got a bunch of angry messages saying it's offensive and you're profiting off their names or whatever. So she tweeted she was taking the poster down. And I thought to myself, I'm, again, not trying to pretend that Paramore is like the epitome of punk rock. Certainly not. It's like,
I would never
emo pop.
equate them to punk rock. No.
But it was supposed to
no.
be like youth. It was youthful, exuberant rock. You know what I mean? It was like teenage angst. So
Sure.
it was like, the point I'm making is, I saw that and I thought about it. Like, if you're supposed to be a rebel challenging the system, but here you are saying, "So sorry, everybody. I understand this is a big mainstream, high profile cause that everyone loves and supports and the government supports it." So a better example would be Bad Religion, which we talked about before.
Yeah.
Writing their attempt at an anti-alt-right song, which is actually, I guess, inadvertently pro-alt-right. But regardless of whether or not you have all these modern iterations of, of punk bands or anti-establishment music and art, what happens now to even the historic music? Rage Against the Machine from the 90s or 2000, it was the 90s, I guess.
Yeah.
Now it's quite literally like, congratulations, you've lived long enough to see yourself become the machine.
The villain.
I actually had a question about this, even in high school, and you and I have talked about this a little bit, because in 2002, I think it was, Bad Religion came out with Kyoto Now, which was their song in favor of the Kyoto Protocol, which is great. Yeah. I know if you're an environmentalist, and you also apparently really like big government. And I couldn't figure out. I was like, are you against the machine or are you with the machine? Because that looks a lot like the machine to me, and I was a conservative even then. I was like, if you were really going to be punk, maybe you want to be conservative because they actually don't like the government. It never made sense to me. So I don't know. Maybe this is just the continuation of that.
It's like they were advocating for a bigger machine.
Yeah.
The machine isn't big enough.
Right.
The machine isn't big enough. Let's write some punk songs and just totally lean into, we are the machine. Everything we say is pro-establishment. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Man. And so this is something, I don't know who coined this. Was it Paul Joseph Watson? Conservatism as the new counterculture?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I saw that.
It kind of is, but this is a different kind of conservatism. The idea was that, like, I guess what he is saying is that if you go back in time, the idea of wearing a suit and going to church is like a counterculture because the establishment is like super far left.
Yeah.
But what we're doing is still anti-establishment, and we're not suit-wearing, stodgy religious
What, this
types.
show right now?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Like, we are still skateboarding musicians. You're a vegan. Like, this is what a lot of punk rock was back in the day, at least in certain respects, not completely or entirely, you know what I mean? You could overlap with it. But skateboarding,
Yeah.
skateboarding, playing music, and challenging the establishment and calling for freedom and liberty. It's not maybe they subverted these cultures on purpose. It's interesting, man. Remember what I was saying about the conspiracy where Trump is a part of the deep state?
Yeah.
The idea was that Trump is really part of the global elite billionaires, and he is playing he's playing this role of the outsider challenging the deep state so that it can bring people back into the machine. But this is the second layer to that. The overall conspiracy, and I'm not saying it's true at all. I'm just saying it's something people say. Trump was friends with the Clintons. He was friends with Hillary. It's all an act. He wants you to think that he's stealing the country back from the corporate evil. And so what happened now is you get people like Alex Jones, who used to be very anti-establishment, straight up supporting Trump. And you get punk rock bands that were straight up anti-establishment, now completely in support of the establishment political positions.
Yep, it's true.
Whatever has happened, it's completely made everyone in favor of one form of the establishment.
Yeah, one or the other.
One or the other. So that was that it. It was like, now you've got people who used to be very anti-government libertarian being like in support of the federal government, calling for them to take action, bring out law and order. You know, these were the more small government right-leaning people now saying we need law and order. We need Trump to come in and enforce the law. And then you get the punk rock bands, Rage Against the Machine, now literally putting on rock concerts sanctioned by the government where they paint their political messages in the street.
Yep.
Legally, with protection from the police. You actually have the cops. This is the best part. Seeing these videos of these young kids dancing with cops.
Yeah.
There was one, I can't remember what it was, but it was like a street, and the cop was doing some shuffle dance with everybody, and they're all laughing and cheering. And I'm like, it's so weird to see young people not rebelling.
What
you know?
what happened there?
Like,
Why don't kids rebel anymore? This is strange to
know,
me.
man.
Ignorance is
Like-
bliss.
Yeah, you think they're just ignorant?
Oh, yeah.
That's all it is? Because they've always been ignorant,
Definitely.
right?
I mean, everyone is ignorant until they, you know, like on any subject they're not like privy to, and then you climb out of that ignorance when you research whatever subject it is. So I'm ignorant of many political things still. You know, I'm slowly, you know, learning my place and understanding the whole realm of, and you know, you just see that there's more and more. The problem is everyone thinks that they know everything. So a lot of these people, these young people, think that they know everything. They don't realize that they are ignorant. They think that they've just, I mean, everyone, you know, think back when you're 20. It's like I know everything. I'm finally out of the house. Like my parents were wrong. I finally can, you know. It used to be rebelling,
Right.
but now it's more like
conforming?
Well, because they have the internet and they all cluster together because they find each other easy, you know, or they're going to college
Yeah.
and then they're finding each other there. They're clumping together, and then that ignorance festers, and they don't climb out of the ignorance. They stay in it. They don't have to.
Interesting.
It's not so much, in my opinion, about rebelling against parents, which is how we view it, but I think it's about asserting your individuality. That's what's gone.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I was like, I do what I want. Hey, you know, you can't tell me what to do. Shut up. I do what I want.
Yeah.
And that was rebelling, asserting like, here is who I am. And it was important, in my opinion, when it comes to cultural and literal evolution.
Yeah.
Because it allows life to challenge and find better ways of solving problems. If you have a bunch of people trying a bunch of different things, 90, you know, out of 100, 99 fail, but one person improves, then that improvement can trickle to the masses and then lift everybody up.
Yeah.
So that asserting your individuality was a net benefit to our society and our culture, and now it's gone. Now you have these young kids totally in favor.
Yep.
You know, they're pro-establishment.
Yeah, they're not. The individuality is gone.
Check out this. This is really amazing, this picture. Someone tweeted this. It is a punk-looking young woman. If you think you're goth, punk, or alternative, but you don't support the BLM movement, you're a poser. Interesting. She has an Anarchy A on her jean vest. She's also wearing a shirt that says ACAB, which I'll give you the family-friendly version. All cops are bad. But the anarchy thing I find interesting because the government of New York just painted Black Lives Matter on the street. So your movement is in favor of the establishment government.
That's right.
And political party.
Just not cops, apparently?
Why are you wearing the anarchy symbol? Oh, no, they're defunding the police.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
So ACAB.
Yeah.
They like the government.
Bill de Blasio. Right.
Yeah.
So the anarchy makes no sense.
Right. Exactly.
ACAB really pisses me off because it's just them going, all people are racist is basically what that means.
That's also what they say too.
I know.
Yeah, too.
All people are racist. And it's like, no, your ignorance is spilling out and splashing all over me. I have to go shower. I can't stand it.
Yeah.
I know people that are cops, and they're awesome. They're awesome people.
Okay.
It's
So this is what I see.
pisses me off.
Every layer of our cultural institutions, which come well before politics, are under the control of intersectionalists. They are establishment conformists.
Yep.
They have weird views. They are racists. Look, I often we joke about, like, it's a meme when I say I'm mixed race and stuff. But I think people really need to understand. Like, I've had conversations with other people who are like Hapa, meaning like half Asian or whatever, and Kwapa, quarter Asian, and there are serious concerns about what a leftist identitarian future means. I was talking to Sargon because he was reading White Fragility, and what he basically said was she basically poo-poos mixed race people, like they're not a part of this worldview.
That's very
So you're not a
binary.
part of it.
Well, what it means is basically, I'll put it this way. My general understanding of other countries is that if I were to live in places where my family is from,
Okay.
I would have been a second-class citizen. Not in America, though. In America, we've bypassed, like we've succeeded. We've passed these laws. We have these rulings.
Right. We're all Americans.
Yep.
Period.
So when I grew up, what I had to deal with at my family was people who were authoritarian racists. So we had, like, someone threw a brick through our family vehicle window. We had our house was vandalized, and I was a little kid, and so it was like, I don't understand. People are attacking us, I guess. And it was like very obvious when you look at our family that it was not your typical white American family. So when I was growing up, I was like, wow, man, look at this neighborhood. We won. Like, it's a Star Trek future, man. I remember when I was a little kid watching Star Trek with my dad, and I'm like, this is the future, man.
Yeah,
it's going to be people of all different types and creeds and colors just living together peacefully.
Yeah, that's what it felt like my high school. I went to high school out here, outside Philadelphia, and there was all sorts of colors, and pretty much every single person I ever interacted in high school was cool. Sure, there was some bullies, but it's like that's not a race issue. That's a authoritarian. It's bullies. Bullies exist. Trolls on the internet. It's like they don't even know what the color of your skin is. They're bullies. That's what trolls do. That's what they want. Control.
My concern is, like, we saw the whiteness training in Seattle, right? You brought it up earlier. In Seattle, they had all the white people who do like an undoing whiteness thing.
Oh, it's crazy.
They don't know how to deal with mixed race people. And I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and I was telling her why I thought this was bad. And I said, I want you to imagine for a second what it must feel like to not have the luxury of living in a community where everyone is the same race, right? Because it's something she brought up to me. She was like, minorities have to think about race all the time, and white people don't, which is not true. But there are communities that is true. And I said, okay, so now I want you to imagine something. Imagine you're a minority, and you wake up one day to see that many people who are white are now calling for white collective action, and they're calling for the formation of white racial identity groups. Do you think that would make them more or less comfortable?
Less.
Yes. So I was like,
Definitely
I
less.
don't like the idea that my friends are now going like this. Okay, everyone, listen up. Tim, you go over there. We're not talking to you. Here's what we're going to do. And I'm like, I don't care if you think you're the good guy or not. That is not fun.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not feel good at all.
Right.
And then you tell me what I was told was that I have to choose to identify as white then. And I was like, that's complete BS.
Right.
The future they're building will do weird things to me and my family, and it also has very profound implications on who I choose to have a family with.
Yep.
Do I want to put someone through the ethnic ambiguity or racial ambiguity problem? These people are awful.
Yeah, they are. They're trying to inject racism back into society. They won't let it go away. They don't want to because it's one of their control pieces.
I went to Seoul, South Korea, and I met some. I have some friends who are 100% Korean, born in America, who have been there, and I met some people who are 100% Korean, born in Korea. And boy, was it an interesting conversation. As young people, they were very nice to me.
Yeah.
But they explained to me that in Southeast Asia, I would not be for the most part, acceptable. I'd probably get by just fine, but I would come across many roadblocks based on racism that I would never experience in America. And you look at, somebody brought this up in the chat, I think the other day, that in Japan, you can't even open a bank account unless you are like from Japan and you are Japanese.
Wow.
Because it's like, dude, America's laws are rare.
Yeah.
So many countries have overt racial identity in their laws for their countries.
I know. This is what I was saying the other day about how can they deny that America is not on the forefront of showing what it's like to be free, to be civil, to show what equality is. They're actually trying to disassemble that, and that we have that. We put it in place in the 60s. Martin Luther King got killed for it. And man, I was listening to a man named Shelby Steele, incredible man. You could check him out on the Hoover Institute. They have a lot of amazing interviews on YouTube, and he was talking about it. And he was like, I would not take reparations because I've earned my keep here. I worked hard to get to where I am. I was alive in the 60s when we were actually fighting for civil rights. We had a message. We knew exactly what we needed to do. And now these people, everyone's confused. People are confused because they don't actually know what is the plan. They don't have a clear message. You ask anyone, you can just move along the list of different people and ask them, what do you think the plan is?
They'll give you different answers.
Originally it was police reform, right?
Right.
Well, we tried police reform. There was a legitimate bill on the table. Now people are saying, well, that wasn't enough. And it's like, you didn't read the bill, did you? I still haven't heard back from those ragers
waiting,
on Facebook
Oh,
that I was like, here's the bill. Read it. Talk to me. Zero, zip, nothing. They don't care. They don't want that. It's not about police reform. What is it about? No one even knows.
And I'll tell you this, it's not about accommodating marginalized people either. That is a lie.
Absolutely correct.
So this was the culmination of the conversation I had with my friend when they were basically saying, white people have the luxury of never experiencing race. And then when I said, imagine waking up where you come from a mixed race family, you've dealt with issues of racism, and you see all of these white people now forming a white racial identity group.
Right.
Like, people aren't sitting there going like, hey, that's a good thing. I remember that. That was great.
Yeah.
No, they're going like, I thought we were. So I asked her, I basically said, when you propose segregation based on race,
mm-hmm.
you have to understand that it was your ideology and progressives in 1967 that got a ruling which created mixed race relationships in this country. Loving v. Virginia, 1967, made it so that it was legally protected. They could not discriminate. People of different races could have mixed race children. You have now created a couple, I believe, 2 or 3 generations now of mixed race families.
Yep.
And with your identitarianism and segregation, you are basically telling them F you, and you want to go back in time? What is that? That's like you're basically just chopping off a group of people that your side, fought for.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
The progressives.
Mm-hmm.
There's no answer. I mean, that's probably the better argument. Like, why would you want to go? So the argument was specifically about California repealing civil rights law.
Yeah.
The California Assembly and the Senate repealed this. I know most of you probably know the context by now. For those who don't, it's literally just, it says the state shall not discriminate based on these things. So when I hear them say that was a mistake, we need to undo that, I say, so what does that mean for me? If you never had these policies, perhaps I wouldn't even be here today. Maybe
true.
that would make you happy. Of course it wouldn't make you happy, right? Okay, well then now you got to deal with me.
Right.
I'm not just going to go quietly into the night. I'm going to stand up and tell you to go F off. We have equality in this country.
Yep.
We have civil rights law, and they're seeking to undo it. And unfortunately, there's a lot of them.
I can't. When I heard that California was doing that, I expected some sort of like hiccup in the Black Lives Matter movement to be like a screeching halt on the brakes, like, what are you trying to do, California? Oh. Excuse me, what? And they're like, no, affirmative action. And it's like, okay, that was the title of the bill.
Right. What was the language of the bill?
Did you read the bill? Do you know what you're voting? They have to vote. If you live in California,
they know.
You do some research, please.
It's going to pass.
It's crazy,
because what's going to happen is, so it's passed the Assembly and the Senate, It's going to go for a referendum in November, and it's going to say support affirmative action amendment, and they are all going to say yes. And then guess what happens the next day? State institutions across the board will put up signs saying this race, that race, this race.
Yep. Segregation.
Yep.
California will be, it's funny, for a long time, they were on the forefront. They were the leaders of all this, you know.
Still leading.
And still leading.
Well, not in the direction I want to go,
Yeah.
though.
Right.
You know, they're leading themselves backwards. That's what they're doing now.
Yep.
So, you know, they jumped into the air and slipped, and now they're falling back. Where everyone's like, we're just walking steadily forward. What are you doing, California? Because I don't understand.
I'm curious as to like what happens to, say, The Rock or Jessica Alba or you know, people like that.
Yeah.
Vin Diesel. These are people that are ethnically ambiguous.
Okay.
When you have this idea of white privilege, one of the things I encounter is, and this is like a story that my family has many experiences. When you get into arguments with different groups who view you as either white or not white, and they can't tell.
Yeah.
So like during Occupy Wall Street, it was nonstop all the time because they try so hard to make everything about race.
Yep.
They're like looking at me like, yeah.
You're
So
bending your brain.
they mostly called me Puerto Rican, for real.
Puerto Rican.
Yep. I had one guy
Wouldn't
come
have
up to me
guessed
and he
that.
said it was like, it's great to see, you know, a Puerto Rican brother down here doing it. And I'm like, I'm not, no.
Try again.
But Mexican is what I get the most.
Okay.
And it really depends on like, if it you know, it was summer. And so I had more
you were
of a-
tan or not?
I was tanned and I have black facial hair.
Okay.
So people just immediately would come up to me. When I was in Anaheim covering the Trump rallies,
Okay.
it was like Telemundo walked up to me and started speaking Spanish. And I was like, oh, no, I'm sorry. That's what I tend to get. When I was in Egypt, I thought I was Egyptian. So perhaps it's a benefit that in some places nobody can tell. But if they're trying to quantify and segregate everybody, then it just becomes a problem for me. And I'm like, nah, man, look, I may be one person. I may be part of a very small minority. And the problem with that is each mixed race in the United States is the smallest minority, but each person is a different mix. It's like some people could be like Afro-Cuban. You could be Jewish and black. You could be Asian and black. So there's no community.
I've never had more conversations about race than these past few months. We got to stop talking about it. Why are we talking about it?
Because the Libertarian Party
they won't let it. No.
Yeah.
Right.
I get. It wasn't just because the Libertarian Party. You know, obviously the
That's why they're
temperature of
bringing it up.
America right now is like charged because of racism, and it's like, it blows me away. I don't look at people. I look at the character of a person. If you
Right.
treat me nice, that's how I want to be nice to you. I want to be nice to everybody. I want everyone to get along, you know? So
I'll give you the...
people see one person who's being rude and equate their skin color to that rudeness instead of the like, this is kind of what this Shelby Steele was talking about. Bringing back individual accountability. And that's huge. We need to be accountable for our own actions. And that's not what people are doing. They're going, oh, you were, you know, I'm going to stereotype you across the board and fill my checkbook of, oh, what skin color are you? Okay, cool. This is the type of person, all of the skin color people that I know that are like you, that's who all of them are. It's like, anyone can be awesome. Anyone can be.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. If you want to catch the full show, tune in to this channel, subscribe, hit the like button, or check us out on iTunes and Spotify, and we will soon have this podcast up for free on all podcast platforms. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all in the next episode.